Hey, Coach. Well, I guess you get to rest up this week. Unfortunately, maybe a little bit longer for a rest than we all wanted. At 7-4, I think a lot of people will probably, would have taken that, so to speak, at the beginning of the year. But what happened on Saturday? I mean, how do you not let that kind of stain what otherwise was, I guess, a great year for you guys?
Well, I think initially it's going to. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But I think we all have to look back at all the positive things that happened during the course of the year, considering the schedule. The schedule wasn't an easy one to deal with. I thought our players did a good job of responding to the losses that we did have, and came back and gave us a strong performance in the first half and gave us a great thing that we could have accomplished, and that was go to the national playoffs. And there's a lot to be thankful for, I think, when you look back on this season. But the reality of the situation is sometimes that last memory is the memory that stays in your front of your brain the most. And I think our players are going to have a tough time letting that go. But I think when they get away from it for a little bit and they start to look back on what we did accomplish, I think they're going to feel good about where we are.
Looking forward, I won't ask you about Saturday's game, but looking forward now, what needs to happen for this team to improve heading into next season?
Well, I mean, obviously the maturity of playing the whole game situation, and nothing against UC Davis. I mean, I thought they did a good job. But once they got the momentum, they kind of kept it in the second half. But we put the ball on the ground, and not once did they force it. We did some poor things, and with the football. And if we don't do those poor things with the football, we're probably talking about being 8-3. And I think that we need to protect the football. Obviously, on offense, we need to understand if you can play as well as we played in the first half. There's no reason why they didn't really do a lot in the second half that was much different. They actually took some risks that should have been maybe in our favor, to be honest with you, with some of the things that they tried to do. And that's what you want people to do when you're an option team, is you want people to play desperate defense. And unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of it. And they got the momentum going, and like I said before, they took advantage of that momentum in the second half and outscored us by 1 point.
So looking ahead towards next year, what are some areas of improvement that the team needs to work on and you'll be working on here in the next several months?
Well, I think that one of them is ball possession. Obviously, that was something that we had done pretty well most of the year, but the other night we did not. I think the fact on defense, I think from a pass defense standpoint, I mean, we're going to finish in the top 15 in the country in rushing defense, and we're probably at the opposite end of the spectrum in the pass defense, and I think we need to be more productive there. Some of that's going to come with better depth. Some of that's going to come with lack of some of the injuries we had, and I'm sure we're going to look schematically at some of the things we've done and some of the things that we can do to improve that without putting the rushing defense at risk. I think that we'd like to stay right where we are, and really, we went into the game the other night and we said if we can stop them from running the football, then we're going to be in good position. And really, we were in good position to win that football game. So I think we'll look at all those things defensively. Offensively, I think you'll see an expansion of some of the things that we showed this year in ways that we can get guys the football without having to always be a triple option team, and give those guys the football and hand it to them or throw it to them, whatever way you want to look at that, in a way to make sure that we get everybody involved on the offensive side of the ball.
Recruiting-wise, what can you tell me in terms of areas that are, you'll be looking at more heavier than others?
I think I mentioned a couple of them. Anytime you have to replace Scotty Cordier, who I think is a phenomenal player, not because he's the greatest athlete, but because of the time and effort he puts into studying the game, how he handles himself, and how he plays the game. I think he's one of the leaders on defense. And Marty Mohammed, those are going to be two difficult guys to replace. So secondary and linebacker, I think, are two areas on the defensive side of the ball. I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think anytime you talk about losing a guy that's 6'4", 225 pounds, Dominique Johnson, I think that's some place where we have to find some guys. But in reality, those are the main areas that we're looking at. Obviously, we'd like to get some depth at the slot position, but we have a lot of guys coming back, and we have a lot of guys that are young players in the program that redshirted this year that we think are going to be good players. So I think the development of our team in the spring is going to be extremely important, and adding the right flavor to it, so to speak, with who we do recruit. If we're able to bring in a couple of transfers, they got to be the right mix. And if you look at DJ's been, I think, a tremendous addition to the program. He's going to graduate after the winter quarter. He's been a good guy. He's been well received by the guys that have been here for 4 and 5 years. Those are the type of people we want to bring into the program. Mark Rogers has been similar. He's very well received by his teammates. He's a humble guy. He loves Cal Poly, and I think that we're going to look for guys like that to hopefully bring in the spring quarter that maybe can help us be ready to play immediately next fall.
There's no doubt you inherited several talented players, but this will be your third recruiting class. The team's becoming more and more guys that you brought in. I mean, what kind of a benefit is that now that the team is becoming guys that you've recruited into the program?
Well, I think it's through the recruitment process. You have the relationship that's developed through that process is the trust when someone says yes is already there. Whereas when you are coaching guys that maybe you didn't recruit, you have to earn the trust, just like they have to earn the trust from us, because there wasn't that bond that you had when you started. So I think that that's always going to be something that you have to work at. But I've been real pleased with both ends of the spectrum. I think the guys we have recruited have been a good fit for the guys that have been here. And the guys that have been here, I thought this year they did a tremendous job of buying into the way we coach and how we coach and the style we coach with. So really, the benefit is they're guys that we're choosing. And beauty is in the eyes of the beholder in this recruiting thing. So who's been recruited here in the past? Is it going to be the exact same guys in the future? I don't know. But obviously there's been great tradition here, and we want to keep that good tradition going in football.
The Redshirts that set out this year, who can we really look forward to next year and contributing, not just playing here and there, but really helping out the team?
Well, I'll be shocked. Lance Castaneda is a true freshman that we have high expectations for at wide receiver. He's 6'3", he's 215 pounds, and he's only going to get better the more he plays. I think Chris Nichols and Austin Marr at the slot position, we think that they're guys that will be able to help us immediately. We're looking for some of the younger guys, Nick DeZubnar, Brandon Howe at linebacker, the guys that we think can be factors for us immediately. And I also think in the secondary that Kevin Britt has a big future at corner. Jordan Williams has a big future at the cornerback position as well, and that's only going to add to the depth that we have there.
You say you have, there was 18 seniors, I believe. In terms of scholarships, guys you signed, I mean, what kind of a class are we looking for? I mean, you don't just, I know, give out 18 scholarships, but how big of a class do you expect here in February?
It'll probably be close to 16 to 17 guys that will sign in February, and I think that it's got to be the right guys. We're always going to try to look for linemen, and that'll be an area on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line. But really the targeted areas are in the secondary and at linebacker on defense. And on offense, it's at wide receiver slot. And at those two positions, we need to find guys that can impact us somewhat quickly.
What can you tell me about schedule for next year?
That's what we were. That's exactly what we were just talking about. I mean, it's going to be a difficult schedule. I don't think that I envision it being 5 straight road games, so that's good. But I think that if you look at the schedule, it's going to have Montana and Eastern Washington on it, who are two of the best teams in the country year in and year out. And there's going to be 2 FBS schools on it. So right there you have 4 games that are going to be very difficult games. And then, like I said, our conference is good. You know, and I've said that all along. When you have UC Davis, Southern Utah, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Cal Poly, I think that we are an overlooked conference in the United States. So schedule-wise, yeah, it's going to be competitive. But as a coach in a football program, that's what you want. And I would hope that as a fan base and a community, what you want is you want to see us play good folks. And we're going to have the opportunity to do that again next year.
This may be an Allison question again, but so the Big Sky, you don't know how many opponents they'll try and work in, you know, for you guys next year?
Well, you know, we're real limited in our dates, number one, and number two, we need to have home games. We need home games, and I think that that's what we're going to be looking for, and I think that, you know, anything the Big Sky can do to help us would be great, but I think a lot of the schedules are already going to be taken care of. So we're going to, you know, we're going to have to work at it, and that was the conversation we just had. You know, there's 3 dates that we need to get 2 home games in.
When you say home dates, I mean, does that include the possibility of a Division II school still? Or are you trying to work those things out?
I'm sure that would be a possibility. The reality is that with our schedule and the 7-win thing and all that great stuff, we sure would like to play FCS opponents in those 2 games. Okay,
good to hear. And my last question, just summarize, you know, your thoughts on 2010. I mean, success, failure. How are you going to look back on this thing?
Well, I think, you know, you're probably asking me at a bad time, but the reality of the situation is you have to look at 7-4 and look across the country at how many teams are going to be 7-4 or better, and there's not going to be that many. We've been ranked 10 out of the 11 weeks. We're in the top 25 in the United States. I don't think you can call that a failure. I think that there's been a lot of successful things that have happened this year. I think we've overcome a lot between travel and injuries, and guys played through it, and we did get healthier, but you know, some young players got the opportunity to play, and they stepped up. Some old players got an opportunity to play that hadn't played that much, and they stepped up and played well. So there's a lot to look at, you know, from the top 15 or whatever in rushing defense, the top 10 in the nation in rushing offense. There was a lot of good things that happened this year on our football team, and we have to look at those positives and use those as foundations that have been laid under my time as the head coach and try to continue to build upon those things.
Tim, you'd always told me that coaches take losses harder than players. Does that still apply for this past weekend?
Yeah, I think it does, to be honest with you. I mean, I think players, you know, they have so much going on in their young lives. You know, this is what we do for our living. I mean, this is how you make your family living and all those things. And I think it sticks with us and all those things. And I think I'm sure right now that our players aren't real excited about having the opportunity to end their season on that particular game. But I think that we're all struggling a little bit with the loss. I think it's going to be good to come together tomorrow and make sure that I emphasize to the 2010 team the good things that happened, and make sure that they walk out of that room feeling good about what we did accomplish instead of looking at what we did not accomplish. And one of the things I said before is, 7-4, we'd be going to a bowl game. This place would be jumping up and down right now. If we were in the FBS, 7-4 gets you to a bowl game. A good 7-4 team at FCS level stays home. And I really think that, no offense to the NCAA, but they talk about student-athlete welfare and all those things. Well, people will be jumping up and down at 6-6 to play in the Albuquerque Bowl. Great. There's 60-something teams that are going to play in a bowl game in FCS. There's 20 teams that are going to go on and play postseason football at our level. I don't think it's fair, but that's the way they've decided to do it. And parts of it I like and parts of it I don't. The part I don't is we're probably good enough to be very competitive in the national playoffs this year. Unfortunately, that fourth loss is not going to help us get there.
I'm outside of Dominique Johnson. Who would, I guess, get an opportunity or is being looked at for professional football, not necessarily the NFL, but at any level?
Well, I'm sure that Marty Muhammad wants to have the opportunity to continue to play. I think those two guys are probably the two guys that are in the forefront for us. I think Dominique will get a chance, and Marty he's in my office today, and we're going to come up with a plan to see if we can market him to give him the best opportunity to continue. The great news about both those guys, Dominique has a senior project to do in the winter quarter, and then he graduates, and Marty Muhammad graduates in construction management this quarter. So they're in the perfect position to go try to continue to play, and if it doesn't work, they have a great degree from Cal Poly to fall back on and move on with the rest of their life. And I think they're mature enough young people that that's what will happen. Now, I do hope they both get the opportunity to play, and you never know in this thing. And again, at the next level, it's just like we were talking about recruiting, is beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. Somebody's going to look at Dominique and think he's the legitimate guy and say that's what we want, and somebody's going to probably find some beauty in Marty, and hopefully Marty will get that opportunity too.
Dave pretty much has every question I was going to ask, but I guess the only one I have left is, does Saturday's loss get any easier over time? Since then, each day.
Well, at least I can put a smile on my face right now. Going in after the game and looking at them, and really, I hate to say the word speechless because I'm usually not that, but the reality of the situation was it wasn't going to do us any good to rehash what happened right after that game. We weren't going to change the outcome of it. So what we need to do is we need to change the mentality of the 2010 team and how they feel about how they finished by talking about the good things. And I think I have to refresh my memory and go through the season, and that's why we're not going to meet as a team till tomorrow. So it gives us 48 hours to get away from it and hopefully look back on it in a positive way that gives us the opportunity to celebrate 7 wins. I think 7 wins is a good season. And it's not great, but it's very good. And we're going to build on that, and hopefully that 7 will turn into 9. We had some great quality leaders, of which we talked about. Will Mitchell and Marty Muhammad were the captains all year long. Scotty Cordier, James Chen. Those guys are going to be guys we're going to miss tremendously, not only as football players, but as young men. And I think that that's the one thing I'm proud to be a part of at Cal Poly, is that we're surrounded by some people that are going to go on and be extremely successful outside of football. But some of the lessons learned from football are going to be some of the things that carry those guys on to be successful.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.